What similarities or differences are there between a physical book and online content? What is the relevance of this question when we are thinking about digital creation? How does this line of inquiry help us to understand how our digital world relates to our physical world? And above all, how does it help us rethink our roles as digital creators within our broader roles as netizens? Let's take a look. It is easy to forget that everything online, from a comment to an image, from a news article to a platform or app, hasn't appeared ex nihilo, out of nothing. Everything online has a creator or creators. Particularly easy to forget when we are talking about material with no recorded human voice, and especially easy to forget in times of global health crises when we might feel at once more connected than ever to other people and even over-connected with others on screen, whilst lacking physical interaction. It is easy to forget that everything online has a lifespan, however short or long that might be, that everything released or published online does not exist in a vacuum, but interacts with other content online, however limited or extensive this interaction might be. I want to explore the nature of online creation further by drawing a comparison with the conventional piece of media, which is the book. When we pick up a book, open the cover and flick past the title page, we pass by multiple nods to the creator or creators of the content in front of us. The life of the book is defined, we could say, by how long we read it, how long it sits on the bookshelf, the time we give over to discuss its ideas, and whether we physically hand it over to someone else to read. Its dynamism as content relies on what we or the creators do with it as a physical object and what we do with the ideas it contains. How we bring it and its content into other fora or social spaces, how we allow it to shape and inform content we then produce. Here, it's clear how our roles as creators and consumers are intimately interconnected. This is how books in history have had far-reaching impact on societies and the ideas that shape them. From Europe, we could take the example of Voltaire's Lettres philosophiques, or Philosophical Letters, a book hailed as an 18th century bestseller and often attributed as being a catalyst of change. It was published, read, shared, discussed and drawn upon in further works. I'm sure you could think of parallel examples in your region or from your context and what you've read and shared with others. Without our engagement with it, the book remains static content, collecting physical dust. In other words, when we pick up a book, we are at once reminded of the link between physicality and creation and of our role in making that object a dynamic rather than static receptacle of ideas. If we are the creator of that book, we have likely had to pass through multiple reviews of our work and editorial stages. Someone has likely taken a commercial bet on our work and as part of this ensured that it complies with relevant laws on the presentation and use of others' information and ideas, or in other words, others' creations. In most cases, we are otherwise clear on who owns the intellectual output. Us, our publisher, or perhaps another intermediary, or perhaps it's a shared creation, a co-creation. When we go online, our connection with content, from a one-line comment to a multi-paragraph news article, to take two examples, and our feeling of ownership can feel or seem very different. Those clear cues of authorship can fade into the background, with the possibility for anyone online to publish content, and given the myriad options in terms of platforms on which to publish it and the mass of content published every second, it can feel as if we can create with little thought for the potentially far-reaching repercussions, either for the online community or indeed for ourselves. We can meanwhile be quick to offer up our creations, without consideration of how these become the property, or at least an essential resource, both in terms of the content itself and the data that can be extracted from it, for the platforms we believe we're using for free. We don't create, we don't comment and publish or otherwise in the firm knowledge of the monetary value we provide, often for private, for-profit companies. Or at least we don't often stop to think about our value in these terms, opting for short-term ease of use and access over taking the time to make informed decisions for the longer term. Whether it is money or data or something else, it is important to remember there will always be an exchange of value. We should create and engage, having decided we ourselves are happy with the payoff. In sum, our perception of ephemerality, that short-livedness when creating online, skews our sense of authorship and ownership, our understanding of the lifespan of content, and our understanding of the responsibility we have, both to ourselves and others, when we create. We know that the fourth industrial revolution we are currently experiencing is characterized by a fusion of technologies that is blurring the lines between the physical, digital, and biological spheres. As we each individually navigate this era and aspire to take up the role of netizens, it is imperative that we don't lose sight of how creation online involves, or at least should involve, that sense of authorship and ownership, to name two key areas, that comes with physical creations. We need to be aware that creation online involves, or should involve, a similar level of consideration over the use of others' information and ideas. We meanwhile need to be aware of the lifespan of material online. This lifespan can range from the very transitory or brief to the never-ending, and indeed morph into a lifespan that really behaves and continues beyond our control. We need to remember that the lifespan of content online is also not directly proportional to impact. We need to be aware that content we release, even for the briefest moment, could have far-reaching implications for ourselves and others. In other words, we face a paradox when we think of the relationship between our offline and online worlds and we think about creation. On the one hand, we need to think carefully about the transfer of responsibilities from the context of creating offline to the context of online creation. On the other, we need to be careful not to allow our online and offline worlds blur into one, thinking that creation offline plays out exactly the same as creation online. Understanding this complex and somewhat confusing relationship between our online and offline worlds is the foundation block of developing digital literacy and becoming responsible digital creators. Building an awareness of the framework within which we should create online meanwhile develops understanding of the responsibilities we have to ourselves and others, and as these are bound up in the idea of netizenship. In other words, when we think of creation online, and indeed any activity online, we need to plug our online world firmly into our offline world, and then think about the nuances of this relationship and not simply take it for granted. Therein lies the importance and consequences of thinking about the similarities and differences of the physical book and online content.